People from all over the world speak about the wonderful spirit of Ubuntu that is here in South Africa. This spirit of Ubuntu is present in the nature and character of our people. It lives in many of the everyday African cultural customs and practices. This Ubuntu has also made its way into a number of formal South African structures, programs and initiatives, assisting in the appreciation and advancement of Ubuntu. In this lesson number 6 of the What is Ubuntu series of lectures, we share some examples of the formal presence of Ubuntu in South Africa. The Constitution of South Africa is the supreme law of the Republic of South Africa and provides the legal foundation for the existence of the Republic, sets out the rights and duties of its citizens, and defines the structure of the government. South Africa's 1993 interim constitution included an historic postamble entitled National Unity and Reconciliation, which declared, "The adoption of this constitution lays the secure foundation for the people of South Africa to transcend the divisions and the strife of the past, which generated gross violations of human rights, the transgression of humanitarian principles in violent conflicts, and a legacy of hatred, fear, guilt, and revenge. These can now be addressed on the basis that there is a need for the understanding, but not for vengeance, a need for reparation, but not for retaliation, a need for Ubuntu, but not for victimization." The provision was historic, at least partly, because for the first time in South Africa's modern history, a traditional African concept, Ubuntu, was incorporated in the state's official law. Although the word Ubuntu itself is not taken up in the South African Constitution of 1996, the constitutional status of Ubuntu has been affirmed by the Constitutional Court, the Supreme Court of Appeal, as well as the High Court of South Africa. The founding provisions in Section 1 of Chapter 1 of the Constitution includes the values of human dignity, equality, human rights and freedoms, non-racialism and non-sexism, and the rule of law. Ubuntu, the underlying and fundamental respect for human dignity, equality and freedom, is also enshrined in the South African Bill of Rights, a human rights charter that protects the civil, political and socio-economic rights of all people in South Africa. The National Coat of Arms of South Africa is the highest visual symbol of the state. Many important certified life events such as birth, marriage, death and education, our passport, are all endorsed by the coat of arms. When we investigate the meanings behind the design and the symbolism of the South African coat of arms, we notice how it addresses our individual effort to harness unity between thought and action, and on a collective scale, it calls for the nation to unite in a common sense of belonging and national pride, unity in diversity. When it comes to international relations and cooperation, Ubuntu informs South Africa's unique approach to global issues, with Ubuntu being taken up in the preamble for the 2011 White Paper on Southern African Foreign Policy. Building a Better World, the Diplomacy of Ubuntu of the South African Department of International Relations and Cooperation. Ubuntu is part of the vision and mission of the transformation of the public service sector of South Africa through the Batupeli, the People First initiative, launched to deliver a public service that is people-friendly and that bears the skills and attitudes to meet the developmental challenges facing the country. Ubuntu was also a central theme in the establishment of the world-renowned South African Truth and Reconciliation Commission in 1995. Embracing restorative justice principles, this approach confirms the isiNguni saying, "Ukwaka umuntu abe hungumuntu," that speaks to the restoration of someone's dignity so that the person becomes a real person who is imbued with the spirit of Ubuntu. Ubuntu also has an important place in corporate governance in South Africa, specifically the King Report on Corporate Governance. It is observed in the background of the King 3 report that good governance is essentially about effective leadership, and as it reads, based on moral duties that find expression in the concept of Ubuntu. These are a few examples of the formal presence of Ubuntu in South African society. At the end of this lesson, we would like to mention that Ubuntu also informs the content of various disciplines of study at tertiary institutions such as psychology, anthropology, religious studies, education, law, sociology, African languages, philosophy, political science, economics, etc. The formal presence of Ubuntu that we are seeing in South Africa is a sure sign of the high level of recognition and respect for Ubuntu. We hope that you found learning about this valuable and inspirational. Thank you.